Okay, now before I break down the 5 components of the strategic messaging formula, I need to give you a quick lesson in modern studies in neurological science. Don't worry, this is not that technical, even though I might use some big scientific words. And yes, this is incredibly important when it comes to marketing, and understanding what I'm about to share with you is basically going to be the big difference between whether or not you just get by like everyone else in the marketplace, or if you completely dominate your market. So pay attention, this is important stuff. Now, the first big scientific term I need to introduce you to is the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. Now, the reticular activating system is basically a part of your brain that controls certain functions of consciousness. More specifically, the RAS is a loose network of neurons and neural fibers running through the brainstem. Now, these neurons connect with other various parts of the brain. Now, the functions of the reticular activating system are many and varied. Studies actually show that it contributes to the control of sleep, walking, sex, eating, and even elimination. But the most important function of the RAS is its control of your consciousness. You see, it is believed that the RAS, or reticular activating system, controls your functions of sleep, wakefulness, and your ability to consciously focus attention on something. Additionally, the RAS acts as a filter, dampening down the effect of repeated stimuli like loud noises, which allows you to focus and also helps to prevent your senses from being overloaded. So what in the world does this have to do with marketing? Well, everything. I mean, think about what I just described about your own brain. There's actually a part of your brain that filters out what to pay attention to and what to disregard, and it's called the reticular activating system. So it should be obvious that your goal in marketing is to make your prospect's reticular activating system your best friend. You want their RAS to pay attention to you, your company, and your products and services, and to disregard everything else. It's a pretty simple goal, but making that happen isn't necessarily as easy. But I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it when we walk through the strategic messaging formula, and then you'll understand much better about how and why the Power Marketing Program is a scientific approach to marketing as opposed to a creative approach. So before I can explain how to make your prospect's RAS, from now on I'm just going to call the reticular activating system the RAS, to be your best friend, I need to explain a little something more about your brain. Specifically, we need to talk about alpha brainwaves and beta brainwaves. Seriously. Scientists have discovered that your brain is made up of billions of brain cells called neurons, and that these neurons actually communicate with one another using electricity. This electrical communication can actually be detected and measured using a piece of medical equipment called an electroencephalograph, or EEG, which was invented by Dr. Hans Berger. Researchers noted that this electrical brain activity operates in a rhythm or wave, and these brain waves actually correspond with certain known functions of everyday life. The 2 types of brain waves that are relevant to us are alpha brain waves and beta brain waves. Now, alpha brain waves are measured when you are calm, relaxed, and in a normal state of awareness. In other words, you're not really paying close attention to any one thing. This is your brain's automatic mode of performing everyday regular tasks without any real conscious effort. For this reason, I call alpha brain waves auto mode, since these brain waves allow you to function on autopilot. For example, have you ever driven to work and not paid any attention to where you were going, but miraculously, you got to work? How? Because your brain automatically took you there without any conscious effort. On a conscious level, you might have been listening to the radio, shaving, grubbing down on a burger, or whatever it is that you do, or maybe even talking on your cell phone, using a speakerphone or some other hands-free device, of course, or just whatever you do. But your brain is automatically driving you to work. So thank God for this autopilot mode of consciousness, because it allows us to function very well. However, think about what this means in terms of marketing. You see, your prospects might see or hear your ad with their eyes and ears, but not actually pay attention to it. Think about all forms of media, whether it's print, TV, internet, or whatever. The vast majority of ads get lost because they're only seen on the alpha level, meaning your brain didn't really pay attention to it. Remember the invisible gorilla we talked about earlier? Yeah. Alpha brainwaves shut him out of your view because you are paying attention to something else. Alpha brainwaves, or what I call auto mode, is pretty easy to understand. So let's move on to beta brainwaves, or what I call conscious mode. Now, beta brainwaves kick in when you're thinking logically, feeling stressed, or feeling tense. It's your brain state of active mental engagement and intentional consciousness. You've got beta brainwaves moving when you're trying to solve a difficult math problem, when you're driving in a thunderstorm with slippery roads, when you're inching towards the edge of your seat as a movie you're watching starts coming to a climax, or when you're plotting world domination. What, you don't ever plot world domination? No, I'm just teasing. But seriously, You need to understand that beta brainwaves, or what I call conscious mode, is when your brain is paying attention. So the point in all this, and I hope this is obvious now, is to snap your prospects out of auto mode and into conscious mode. We need to get their brainwaves out of alpha rhythm and into beta rhythm. And fortunately for you, there are scientific ways to make this happen. So now I want to show you a scientific method for using this to your advantage as you develop a marketing system. In short, all you have to do to get your prospect out of alpha auto mode and into beta conscious mode is to get the attention of the RAS. Remember, that's the reticular activating system. The RAS is constantly on the lookout on a subconscious level, 24 hours a day, even while you are sleeping, for things that fall into one of these three categories: things that are familiar, things that are unusual, and things that are problematic. Got it? So whenever the RAS detects any of these things on a subconscious level, it sends a message to the conscious side of your brain that basically says, yo, bro, pay attention, or check this out. Now, whatever those things are, those things that are familiar, unusual, or problematic, we call them activators. Let me give you some examples of activators in real life. When was the last time you bought a new car? Not necessarily a car that is new, but one that was new to you. Once you bought that car, how often did you see that same kind of car on the road? A lot. You never even noticed it before. What about meeting a new friend? Let's say his name is Fred, who drives, say, a green Toyota Camry. You may have never noticed that a green Camry ever existed, but now you see them all over town, and every time you see one, your brain forces you to pay close attention and to look to see if it's Fred driving that car. Well, that's the reticular activating system at work. Because your new car or your friend's car is familiar to you, then that car has become an activator. When your subconscious radar picks one out of the crowd, it pokes the conscious side of the brain and says, yo, bro, check it out. But before, when the green Camry wasn't familiar, your brain would just see another sedan on a subconscious level, but it wouldn't notify you of anything. Back before you had met Fred with a green Camry, the Camry wasn't an activator. Why not? Because it wasn't familiar, unusual, or problematic. So you've probably already figured out that to get your prospect's attention, you just need some activators that are familiar, unusual, or problematic in your ads, and then voila, you win. Well, slow down, Turbo. Cool your jets, Supercharge. It's not that easy. Let me explain to you the biggest mistake people make in this process because they try to mimic the monkeys who run Madison Avenue. These monkeys usually prefer to use activators that are based on things that are familiar and unusual because they're the easiest things to pull off. For example, have you ever noticed how many animals there are in advertising? Coke uses polar bears. Energizer has a bunny. Aflac has a duck. Merrill Lynch has a bull. Microsoft used to use a butterfly. Budweiser has frogs and Clydesdales. And hey, even Power Marketing Consultants has an eagle. Well, now the reason why we use an eagle has nothing to do with what I'm talking about here. You'll have to ask me why we use an eagle sometime in private. But the point is, most creative agencies use animals because they are likable and familiar, and they cause your RAS to pay attention. Now, the same goes for celebrities. Celebrities are familiar, right? I mean, by definition, a celebrity is famous, meaning they are familiar to lots of people. Now, it's true that celebrities add credibility to a company or product, but more importantly, they capture your attention because the RAS detects something familiar and says, yo, bro, pay attention. Once you're paying attention, the company now is in a position to sell you something. And what about activators based on unusual things? Well, that's the typical junk you see coming out of creative agencies. Their goal and purpose is to come up with something so strange, so odd, so shocking, or so flat out unusual that it captures your RAS's attention. The bad news is that we've become more and more desensitized to strange things, so the creative monkeys have to create things that are increasingly more strange. And what about sexuality in marketing? You've heard that sex sells, right? Well, that's not totally true. You see, sexy things actually capture your attention because it's detected by your RAS, but it doesn't necessarily sell. Quite plainly, using sex is a shameless and distasteful way to capture prospects' attention, and it is one that we will never use at Power Marketing Consultants. So, what have we learned here? We've learned about your reticular activating system, or RAS. We've learned about your brain's brainwaves, and more specifically, how we must capture the attention of your RAS and cause you to snap out of alpha auto mode and into beta conscious mode. We also learned that you do this using activators, which are things that are familiar, unusual, or problematic. Now, I want to teach you how to find and create the right activators and put this knowledge to work for you in your business.
For more power marketing tutorials like this, just go to http://powermembers.allcastmarketing.com and register to get your free reports and video tutorials. And we'll see you there.